plus Rise, the podcast where resilience is not just a concept but a lived experience. I'm your host, Thomas Scaria, a resilience coach, an ultramarathoner, and a relentless believer in the human's spirit's ability to rise. This podcast is a companion to my book, Resilience Plus Rise 26.2 Transformative Miles to Unleash Your Marathon of Life Mindset. Each episode is a raw, unfiltered dive into the stories of those who have faced life's hardest battles and emerged stronger. Today, I have a huge privilege, honor to reinvite Senator Baltej Singh Dhillon. Senator Baltej serves as a Senator of Canada, representing British Columbia, and he's focused on public safety, good governance, and strengthening the institutions that Canadians rely on. He has spent 35 years in public service across policing, intelligence, major crimes, and emergency management. For the people who are aware about the incidents in Canada, whether it is the bombing of Air India or whether it is about the Picton murder case, he was very much involved with it. His experience has shaped a leadership approach grounded in trust, accountability, and a calm decision when the stakes are high. For people who have seen our previous conversation, which was a while back, over there, one of the key elements which we had spoken about is that Senator Dhillon had made history in 1991 as the first Royal Canadian Mounted Police, that is RCMP, officer to wear a turban, advocating for the right to practice his faith while serving Canada. Senator, welcome to Resilience Plus Rise, the podcast.
Well, Thomas, thank you for having me back. I appreciate it. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you for having this conversation.
Fantastic. Let me just jump into the crux of the matter. For people who know you, what you have gone through, whether it is in RCMP or whether when you've come from Malaysia, where it was your deep-rooted faith, your sense of accountability, and a trust that you can make a difference. If you could just give a snapshot of what has happened in the last few years, right from the time you came, and for the people who are not aware about it, if you could just give us a small synopsis.
Yeah, sure. I think you spoke about it. I came to this country at a young age. I lost my father, at a young age. He was my first mentor, my role model, my hero, my everything, and someone that has really shaped my life as it is today. And so the values, the principles, the guidelines, all of the things that you see in front of you, what shaped my life, came from him and my parents. And so we came to Canada in 1983 with my mother, two younger sisters. And life was hard. Life was very hard. The promise of money growing on trees is not true. It's not true. You have to work hard, and we had to do that too. We came here. We were laborers. I couldn't find a job anywhere else. Nobody would hire me with the way I looked, and so we worked as laborers in farms and picked berries and so on. But it was also important that we pursue education. My mother was very clear that, I had to go to school. I had to go to college and university. And we were focused on doing better for ourselves. And that was not only an expectation, but also a promise. And that we would, commit to a life that was rooted in principles and values. And so in order to do that, and in order to live up to the legacy that my father left behind, we pursued education, we pursued schooling. And, I guess I look back now, Thomas, and the question you asked, and many of our young people go through that same time and stage, and some face challenges, and we have it in our schools and in our community. folks ask me what saved you. Well, what saved me was I didn't have time. I didn't have any time. I was busy at school, and then I was busy working, and I was busy, doing things that didn't allow me for any space for anything else. And so having that relationship with family, strong family ties, having a strong relationship with my parents, my mother after my father passed away, and this responsibility. I had two younger sisters that I had to, support as well and look after. So values is what kept us going. Values is what kept us grounded. Values are what we refer to and reflect on when we're making any kind of decision for ourselves. And so at that time, I couldn't frame it that way, and I think very few young people can. But there's a feeling, there's a sense, what is right, what is wrong, and how we are connected to each other and to our legacy. And so it was in making sure that was not lost, and that sort of connection, and also the promise that this is who I am, is what carried me through that time. And then it was and what underpinned all of this and all the work, and continues to underpin my life now, which I'm grateful for these times and privilege that I've been afforded, is service. Right from the get-go. That was taught to me early in my life. I didn't know that's what it was called. I didn't know that's what it looked like. I didn't know that's what it meant. But we gave of ourselves and time, gave of our time in Malaysia in service of others. We would prepare food for those who, were hungry. My father would give of himself. We were not from a very rich family. We were poor, very poor. But that never stopped him from giving others space, time of himself, and times money as well. And we, at one time we had somebody living with us for 6 months, and we only knew him to be somebody that my father had met, and he was in trouble. So my father gave him space in an already very, very small house. And as life would have it, that person later on moved to Canada and also helped us in return many, many years later.
What goes around comes around.
What comes around, 100%. The universe works in interesting ways. And so, throughout my time, and it was that service that when I decided I wanted to, pursue a career in law, and then was, I received advice that to be successful in my application in law schools, that, I would have to add a little more than just my schooling to my resume or my application. And that's when that idea of serving or volunteering a local police department came up. When I started doing that volunteer work, I saw a need in the community. I noticed that there were very few Punjabi-speaking police officers. The South Asian community was growing. And that became a calling. After about 2 years doing volunteer work, working with the RCMP, having that interaction with the community, it made sense to me that this was a place that I could make a difference. That this was a place that needed support, that there was a space where I could give into and could be that conduit and could be that person that is able to serve and support my community in a role as a police officer. And that's when I made the decision to become and pursue a career in law enforcement instead of being a lawyer. And so that started a different journey. This country, Canada at the time, I think was still learning about, diversity, learning about multiculturalism, learning about all the different communities and cultures and faith groups that have been and are going to continue to define what Canada is and what makes up Canada. So it was a rough time in the early 90s, mid 80s, early 90s. I was just giving I was having a presentation to CBSA leadership yesterday, and I spoke to them about, how it was commonplace that if you were walking to school to high school during that time, it was commonplace to get, have racial slurs thrown at you and people yelling different kinds of things at you as you're walking to school and coming back from school. So that was commonplace. So, if you're not settled into who you are, and if you're not clear on who you are, those things, those types of events and incidents can really shake you and move you and make you feel unsupported. And so as I pursued that career in law enforcement, the time came when I applied to a variety of different police departments. And then when the RCMP, offered me a position, offered me a role, it came with the condition of having to give up my identity, which I was not prepared to do. And that is where this story really starts, where, the RCMP basically told me that if I wanted to join the RCMP, serve in the RCMP, I had to remove my turban, shave my beard, and so on, and really give up who I was, give up my identity, give up my connection, my legacy, my relationship with my father, and all that he had, gifted me with. And so how do you give up that treasure? So my answer was clear, crisp, and quick. I wasn't prepared to do that. And that's when the debate started in this country. The question around whether the Charter of Rights and the Constitution of this country truly was there for all, and whether we were all Canadians on the same footing, or if there was different grades of Canadians. I can tell you that, after a year and a half, 2 years of debate, nasty, difficult, challenging, petitions signed, pins made, calendars, drawn up, mocking the Sikh community in Canada, making fun of the entire community, reducing it to something less than what it was, what it had been, and ignoring all of the sacrifices and the service of Sikhs around the world and in Canada for all of the years, including the 2 world wars. So it was a painful time. I really started to question whether or not this was the Canada that everybody promised it would be. But when the time came and decision was made and Parliament accepted the recommendation of the RCMP, uniform was changed, I was allowed to serve, it gave me hope. It gave me hope.
Fantastic.
The journey after that in the RCMP, for the first few years, I've said many times before, diversity we can legislate, inclusion, that's a different story. Inclusion is something that, requires commitment from organizations, people, individuals, for that to happen.
Wow, that's quite a journey. But in this short conversation, what you mentioned, there were a lot of points which I would like to get up. Number one, which you mentioned about values. The second thing is about diversity, inclusion, racial discrimination. Now let's talk. As a senator, you can have a bird's eye view about a lot of things which is happening, including the case wherein there was an onslaught of unfortunate tragedy in the northeast of BC, where there was killings which took place, or whether we are talking about the drug-infused cities in Canada or in BC, since you're basically in BC. Where do you think what's happening? I won't ask what's going wrong or what's going right, but what's happening that there is something which is not seem to be the land of our dreams, of all what people have come in for?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I would say first, that, Canada is probably one of the best countries in the world. We have so much here, and we're privileged, blessed to be in this nation. We must keep perspective. There are things that we can do better. So to all the parents, the families, the entire, town of Tumbler Ridge, heart's broken. My heart is broken for them. It is painful to think that there are parents having to face today without their children, your greatest treasure lost to this violence that was, just you can't understand it. You can't understand it. And so I think right now we mourn. I think right now we stand with that city. We stand with the people of Tumbler Ridge, and all Canadians come together and support their time through this very, very painful journey. And on the other side of this, I think we look at what happened, why it happened, and how do we prevent it from ever happening again. These are not things that we want to see repeated. These are not things that we want to see in other schools, in other places. So we must learn from this. We must understand how we do better. We must take time to examine where we failed, if there were things that we could have done a little better. And so to that end, as you said, there is a drug crisis with fentanyl. We are certainly struggling with that. We have economic terrorism that's happening within our communities where businesses are being targeted. That's a crisis. There is a challenge from threats, economic threats that are coming from south of the border, are what we used to have as good neighbors, friends in the United States, where we don't know where we were going to, what's going to happen tomorrow, and what the president's going to say tomorrow. So there are some really big challenges that we're working our way through. But again, I started by saying we need to keep perspective. And the perspective is that compared to many who right now are, not even sure if they will have fresh water tomorrow or will have a place to sleep and are, like the Rohingyans that are struggling in living in cardboard, homes, the Sudanese people in Gaza, so there are tragedies around the world that are, as we look at what we've got here, we are very, very privileged.
But one of the things which, again, because maybe what gets promoted is all the news and the violence and things like that. You had mentioned your strength was in the values. Currently, do you think the values are getting deteriorated?
No, I don't think so. I don't think values are being deteriorated. I think we're losing sight of what those values are. I think we have strong values in this country. I think Canada and Canadians continue to rise to, for the most part, to the best version of ourselves. Are there challenges? Are there places, people who are still carrying hatred inside of them, are toxic and are not adhering to and don't respect the values of Canada? Yeah, of course. And that's where we need to be vigilant. We need to continue to be strong about that. But while there may be a small percentage of young people that are struggling, getting into gangs, drugs, and such, there is a majority. There are so many more that are doing so much, that are strong in their values, that are contributing, that are they're shining examples of what Canada is and continues to be. So I have great sort of aspirations for our country. And yeah, does that mean that there's not folks that we need to support and continue to help? No, absolutely. Are there places where we need to do more? 100%. But for the most part, I go to schools and meet with kids. I mean, they inspire me. They're incredible young people. Wow. They're incredible young people who, are focused on social justice. They're focused on, the environment. They're focused on climate change. They're focused on, how we make this country more welcoming and more inclusive. They challenge us and our biases. They challenge, our stereotypes, right? So they are the future of this country. And we need to give them space. We need to give them room to lend their voice and help them be more steady in when they challenge us, because we're carrying some very archaic thoughts. And I say this to people that, I wake up every morning questioning some of my biases, my stereotypes, my prejudice, because I have that. And it's daily work that I have to challenge. And your values are not put to test when things are easy. When you look at somebody and they meet your comfort, they meet your design, they meet what you think is normal. That's not when your values are challenged. Your values are challenged when you see someone that doesn't fit any of that, and you're getting a reaction to that person. That's when your kindness, your compassion, your love, your creating space, having that the patience to be able to allow for that person to exist with you, to stand with you, to be near you, to have a voice and be inclusive of their perspective. That's when your values come in handy. It's not during the easy times. The easy times, what do you need all that for, right?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Actually, my next question was going to be on the same lines, is that now as a senator, what's your vision? What's your goal? What's your dream? Both as a senator, and I know you have been involved with a lot of voluntary work in the community in and around BC and in Canada also. But what's your vision? That you believe humans are capable of doing?
Well, I think first and foremost, I mean, my vision for Canada, my vision for us in BC, is a place where we can get past looking at each other as different and some as the other.
Okay.
But rather seeing each other as the creations of the Creator, and seeing the light of the Creator in the other, and recognizing that we are all, flowers of the same garden, and we all have different, fragrances, different colors, different contributions in that garden, but we're part of that same garden. And so, but for that to happen, public safety is important. So I spoke about economic terrorism. I spoke about, my immediate goals, my immediate work, my immediate effort as a senator and someone that's been given this privilege and role is to absolutely do everything that I can in partnership with law enforcement, government, federal, provincial, municipal, is to bring this to a stop. We cannot have this continue. We cannot have bullets flying in our communities, our children being put at risk, people having to make a decision on whether or not they're going to pursue a business or build a business. And one of the questions you have to ask is whether it's safe. That should never be a part of that decision-making process. So we have to address some of these issues. Fentanyl is another one. We do need to address that. We're getting better, but we still have work to do. And within that, there's nation building, as the Prime Minister has said. I think we've got a lot of opportunity across the country. And, and we've said this, we've talked about this before, Thomas, that, it's incredible pressure that makes coal to diamonds. So we're under that pressure now. And if we can hang on to our values, we can hang on to, who we are, define ourselves as Canadians, don't crack under that pressure, we're going to come out as diamonds on the other side of this.
Wonderful. Amazing. What a way to stop the conversation. That is so powerful. Yes, when we are put under pressure, we are that way that from coal we can be transformed into diamonds. It's a choice how our values help us to make us the diamonds that we truly are. Senator, with this, I would like to conclude our podcast. It was a wonderful, again, I feel it was just a few minutes, but then I believe there's a lot. It's a masterclass on humanity itself. Thank you for your space and time, and I wish you all the very best. And guys, in case at any point of time, if you want to connect with Senator Baltej, His website is there on my comments below. Do send out your concerns. He may not have all the answers, but he can definitely, or he and his team can direct you to where you could find the answer that is required. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is your office, not mine.
Okay. Thank you so very much, sir.
I appreciate it.